GMs for Hire.
Welcome back to GMs for Hire, everybody. My name's Will Polson. Alongside with me tonight is Jamil King, and we have some breaking news here in the NFL side of things, as there has been a big trade that has just come through, as there is a quarterback swap between the Detroit Lions and the Los Angeles Rams, as Jared Goff will be heading on over to Detroit along with a multitude of draft picks in return for Matthew Stafford going to the Los Angeles Rams. Jamil, let me just get your first takes on the trade.
Wow. Crazy trade we have here. They're a legit blockbuster, in my opinion. I think it was surprising that the Rams came out and won these sweepstakes. The whole time I was under the impression that the Niners, would make a move to go get him. It came out that he wanted to go to California, he wanted to play for the Rams or the Niners, and I was the Rams that stepped up. And it was crazy, in the past few weeks, past few days, we've seen that, the McVay-Goff relationship is on the rocks. They want to have open competition next going into the season, and then boom, he's traded. Really out of nowhere.
Yeah, I tell you what, open competition no more. That's for sure. They've made it clear that Matt Stafford is the guy with this trade, and that's who they're going to be rocking with going forward. Obviously, let's first talk about Matt Stafford on the side of things. He's going to be joining the Los Angeles Rams with a defense, probably the first time in his career, with a running game, a solid running game in Cam Akers, one of the first times in his career. And now has amazing weapons at the wide receiver position with Cooper Kupp and Robert Woods, along with some other pieces as well. How much does this mean for Matt Stafford to finally get out of the Detroit organization?
Oh, this is absolutely huge for Matthew Stafford. He's been carrying the Detroit organization ever since he got picked number 1 overall there. Along him, they had Calvin Johnson, then he retired, then it was just him. This is absolutely huge. I think Matthew Stafford is the most underrated quarterback in the NFL right now. He makes absolutely ridiculous throws. He plays hurt all the time. He's a true warrior. He's really gutsy. He does the job. He's a good quarterback. I think it's absolutely huge. He gets this opportunity to go over here. You mentioned the defense. I can't tell you the last time the Lions had a really good defense. I know they made the playoffs a couple of times with him at the helm, but, they have a really good defense. Talk about the running game. The best running back off the top of my head I think he had was Joyke Bell. He's just this time with the Lions, we can talk about it a lot, but, it seemed like it was just him and him alone. It was one-man band, it seems like. So now coming over to LA, he has a ferocious defense, a lot of weapons. This team should be really exciting. I'm really happy he gets this opportunity.
Both of these quarterbacks, both first overall picks. It's the first time the 2 first overall pick quarterbacks have been traded for each other in the common era here in the NFL, which I believe started in '67. Let's talk about the flip side of the coin. Obviously, the Lions, they just received a ton of draft capital, as well as Jared Goff. Now, we've talked about Jared Goff on this pod multiple times before, mostly out of my mouth, but we have talked about Jared Goff quite a bit, coming off of a thumb injury and everything else. But I came on the 3rd episode of GMs for Hire all the way back in April or May and talked about how Jared Goff doesn't do well in cold weather. And now we're going to see him outside of the McVay system. How do you think Jared Goff's going to fare there in Detroit with how everything is set up for him right now?
I'll tell you what, it's going to be really interesting because, you mentioned this first time he's out of the McVay system. So we're really going to see, how much was Sean McVay really leading him? Was Sean McVay's training wheels just getting him the right reads? Was that the reason he was being productive and got that big contract he had? And you also mentioned the cold weather games. Even though Detroit plays in a dome, Green Bay and Chicago, they don't. So that's 2 games right there on the road. You're probably going to be playing in really cold games. Other NFC teams, you're going to have to go up north and play them. So it's going to be interesting to see that. But I think this is really going to be telling about Jared Goff's career here. He's away from Sean McVay. What can he do with lesser talent in Detroit and a whole new staff? Time will tell, but we're really going to learn a lot about Jared Goff, I think, this season and next season.
I know the NFC North also faces the AFC North this year, so you're going to go up to Pittsburgh. I'm not too sure which games they have on the road.
Yeah, but either way, it's cold.
They're cold in all of them: Cincinnati, Baltimore, Pittsburgh, and Cleveland. I mean, there's going to be a cold game in there. I'm assuming one's going to be towards the back half of the season, so it's going to be interesting. And then also, if I'm not mistaken, I know Kenny Golladay is a free agent. I want to say Marvin Jones is as well.
I think they both are. So it's definitely going to be a lot of change in Detroit. If you lose one or both of those guys, I don't know what they're going to do. They're going to have to attack receiver heavy in free agency in the draft at that point. But if you can keep one of them, I think that'll be really big for Goff to have a true, number 1A, 1B kind of target. Both those guys are really big. He liked a couple of the big guys in Los Angeles. He liked to throw the ball. Josh Reynolds, a really tall receiver, but Cup and Woods, they're not, huge guys like Galladay and Jones are.
Not at all. Do you think right now, obviously a lot of question marks at Detroit. That's why they're so high up. I want to say they're picking at number 6 or 7. I know they're in the top 10. Obviously, wide receiver being a big question mark if they can't sign Kenny Galladay. But they have a lot of question marks on defense right now, too. What do you think is the main concern right now for Detroit?
I think the main concern for Detroit right now is finding good football players. You're not at the point where you're picking for you're like 1 or 2 positions away from making a run here. You just traded your franchise quarterback leader and almost everything for that franchise at the position. You're starting over fresh. You have a whole new staff, new GM, new coach. So at this point, it's just finding good ball players. I think you're picking best available at this point. You're filling gaps in this team, and it's not going to be a 1 year thing where like you pick and you guys are great next season. This is going to take it like 2-3 years. So I think if you just keep trucking away, getting the best player available, filling holes, filling gaps, you have good football players, then you can go and approach, we need this certain area. Let's go get that. And then we can be a playoff team.
A 3rd-round pick this year, and then the 1st-round picks from the Rams for the next 2 years following that, putting them not having a 1st-round pick until 2024. Their last 1st-round pick at that time will be Jared Goff, assuming they don't trade back into the first at any time in this and any time in the next couple of years. So, do the lack of draft picks kind of concern you whenever it comes to the Rams, especially coming into this next season? They don't have a 1st now, they don't have a 3rd, and so they're going to be missing a couple of picks, but. Honestly, their roster looked pretty good. What are your thoughts on the lack of draft capital for the Rams?
I think it's slightly concerning because, the draft is the main way you replenish players, especially when you're a team like the Rams and you're paying some guys top dollar. You're paying Jalen Ramsey, you're paying Aaron Donald. You're paying them these top dollar guys. Matthew Stafford's making significantly less than Jared Goff, but he's still making a decent amount of money. So now how do you fill these other holes in your team? It's usually the draft. Now you have no 1st-round pick. So now your scouting department's really working hard. You're using these mid to late round guys. You need people that can produce for your team. Because you're a team that now you're a team that was already having playoff aspirations. You made it into the playoffs. You won a game this year. Now next year, I think you have Super Bowl aspirations. You were there just 3 years ago. So, at this point for this team, I think that's really big. So while I understand why they did this, because, your window is so you saw they already made 1 Super Bowl. They see their window is closing. Jalen Ramsey and Aaron Donald, they're getting older. Matthew Stafford's an older quarterback, so you have to attack this window you have. So I see why they did it with their 1st-round picks, but it's a little concerning to fill these other areas of need.
I think we are both in agreement whenever it comes to the fact that Detroit's taking a step backwards in this case, trying to look a little more long-term towards the future. When it comes to the Rams, do you think this move immediately puts them as the favorite in the NFC West, or do you think the Seahawks or another team could still compete?
I think right now, very early look into next season, I think they are the favorite in my opinion, because look what they did this year with the team they had. Now you give McVay a quarterback that can throw the ball all over the field, can make every throw you ask of him. Significant upgrade at quarterback in my opinion, and I know it is in yours because you're not the biggest Jared Goff guy. So I think that right there puts them above the Seattle and the Niners. Now I need to see what the Niners do at quarterback this offseason. I need to see what the Seahawks do. Play calling wise, honestly, it seems like their offense is a little stale this season. I need to see what they do, but right now, very early, I'd give the nod to the Rams.
Hey, even more reason to hate him now. He's in my division, so now I can honestly say it's justified. But whenever we look at that 3 draft picks as well as the opposing quarterback in Jared Goff, the return for Matthew Stafford, so that bears the question. What do you think the return is going to be for Deshaun Watson? Obviously, the hottest name right now on the market. It's going to be nuts, the return that he gets. But the Rams had to give up a 3rd and 2 first, as well as a quarterback to get somebody like Matthew Stafford and Deshaun Watson, who's younger, who's got better stats, who's just a more efficient quarterback whenever it comes to that standpoint. Matt Stafford, a great quarterback in his own right. But Deshaun Watson is the hottest commodity right now on the market. What do you think the asking price is going to be looking like after this deal?
Oh, this definitely changed it because, in my opinion, I thought Stafford was going to fetch 1 1st-round pick. I didn't think he'd get 2, a 3rd, and another quarterback. So I think the Lions did very well in that trade. I don't hate it for the Rams because, they're in win-out mode. But you mentioned Deshaun Watson. Yeah, he's about to have an arm. What already was going to cost an arm and a leg might cost an arm and 2 legs now. If he's going to go to one of these teams with a good young quarterback, you're for sure getting that young quarterback back. You're for sure getting first back. And now maybe a 3rd first, a 2nd-round pick, a 3rd-round pick, and a 5th-round pick, something like that. You're definitely going to get more than what you should definitely get more than what the Lions got for Matthew Stafford. Because like you said, Matthew Stafford, a great quarterback, but Watson is younger. Probably the better quarterback as well. I think Watson's easily a top 5 quarterback in this league right now. So that's definitely going to cost you a lot. I would think at least 3 first, second, third, maybe. It's going to cost you a lot.
All right. Any closing thoughts on the matter, Deshaun Watson or the Matt Stafford, Jared Goff trade?
Well, now that Stafford's gone, I think Watson is the next ball to fall. I like this trade from both teams. I like that the Rams are attacking their window, even though they don't believe in first round picks anymore. I like that they're attacking their window. They see they have a good 2 to 3 years to really go get this ring, and I'm glad they're pushing for it for the Lions. You got a great haul for one of your franchise's best players. Now it's time to hit that reset button, and you got to make it work this time. They've been struggling to make it work. We've seen them make the playoffs a couple of times with Stafford. They couldn't make it stick. And as for Watson, I'm excited to see where he goes now that this ball has fallen. I think it might take a little bit longer because I think the Lions wanted to get ahead of the Deshaun Watson sweepstakes to trade him. So we'll see what shakes for Watson now.
Keep in mind also a lot of mock drafts are going to be changing now because now you're looking at different teams and needs now. I mean, you're not looking at now the Rams obviously were already out of the first, but now when it comes to second round picks, they're not looking over there. The Detroit Lions might not be looking at quarterback. You had mentioned before we even got on that they could take all those assets and flip them yet again. So, I mean,
yeah, it's
unlikely, but
those picks.
It's unlikely, but it is crazy what draft capital can do for you. I mean, we could see them trade right back up into the first round if they see a defensive piece they like at the end or something similar to that. But it'll be interesting to see. Obviously, this heats up everything whenever it comes to the offseason of the NFL. This is one of the bigger trades that I think we've seen in quite some time. Typically, it's signings, but not usually see a big name player get traded. So this is nice for the NFL. Before the season's even done, we still have yet to get to the Super Bowl. So it's crazy. It's already heating up. And for that, that's Jamil King. I'm Will Polston. Go ahead and subscribe to us here at GMs for Hire and go follow our social medias. It's down there in the bottom left corner for our Instagram and our Twitter. We'll have those up there as well. And go ahead and keep up with us as we break down the breaking news of the NFL, the MLB, all the major sports, anything that seems of importance. And then we'll also have our picks and other types of videos coming soon. So until next time, guys, you take it easy. Peace.